Hi guys, Squall here, and welcome to a look at the new JCB pack that just dropped into Construction Simulator. The JCB pack is a DLC, and the vehicles that are added to the game are behind me here. There's 6 of them in total, and I'm going to walk you through them in this video. But I also have some super exciting news for you. Last week, with Astragon, who make Construction Simulator, I went to JCB headquarters and had a look at the history of JCB, which is a British manufacturer, and we had a look at their vehicles and their history, and I got to drive 2 of the vehicles that you see behind you. That video will be coming up in a few days, so look out for that one. And the other thing is, if you fancy this JCB pack, they've also released a year 1 season pass for Construction Simulator, and in the video description you can get 19% off that year pack, which includes the content for the next 12 months. But that's enough about that. Let's get started and take a look at what's new in Construction Simulator JCB pack. Okay, so before we get started on the JCB pack, I just want to give you a very brief history of JCB itself, because some of you may not be aware of this company. This is a British company that was started back in, I think it was 1945, and the chap who started it, his name was Joseph Cyril Bamford, hence the whole JCB thing. And he was a bit of an engineering genius, and this, I go into the history of this a little bit when you'll see that video coming out later this week. We walk through the museum. They've got their own museum at the headquarters, and we'll see some of his early constructions. But that's the company. Now, you may wonder if they're actually a big company. Well, let me put it this way. In 2014, 3 out of every 4 construction machines sold in India were JCB. This is a very popular company, particularly in places like the UK and in India. In fact, anywhere where, I guess, you need a machine that can do a job in fairly tight spaces. They kind of specialise in that kind of thing. And that's borne out in their signature vehicle, the Backhoe Loader. And a lot of people don't know what a Backhoe Loader is. They actually invented this thing. It's a very versatile machine, very kind of one-man band operation. And this is one of the vehicles that you'll see me driving for real at the JCB headquarters in their quarry. Super cool day. Don't miss that video. The other one I got to drive was this beast, this excavator. Anyway, let's start down here, and we'll run through each machine one at a time. I'll tell you what it is and roughly what it's used for. So I've kind of laid them out roughly smallest to biggest, but this one here, this is the JCB 1CXT, and this is a tracked backhoe loader. What is a backhoe loader, you're probably saying to yourself? Well, what a backhoe loader is it's a kind of machine that you can do a lot with just one person, because it has 2 modes of operation. If you sit in that seat there, it spins around, and those stability arms come down, and you can use this thing to dig trenches, which is what it's used for, or just dig in general. It's an excavator arm. But what's special about this thing is if you look at the arm where it meets the body, it actually slides. So that arm will move all the way to this side and over to that side. And what that then allows you to do is, you can sit up against a wall in this thing and still extract very close to the wall, because you can just position the arm on one side of the vehicle. Sadly, I think in Consim at the moment, that arm operation doesn't work. You can't slide it around. In fact, if you jump in the vehicle, and if we go into first person mode like that, and then we go to change mode, you see what happens is the bucket arm comes down, and we flick around and effectively take operation of the excavator arm. So you can go digging with this thing. And if you flick back out to third person mode, you can see what it's done is drop the stability legs. But the arm itself laterally moves side to side along that rail. So you can imagine you can basically dig out an area or a trench with this thing. And then what you can do is you switch mode. You switch mode, and then you can carry all the stuff away with this bucket on the front, and because it's tracked, it can go over all kinds of terrain, and because it's very compact, it can really fit in tight places. Like, this is the kind of thing that I would love to have in my garden. Let me put it that way. I would use one of these in my garden. I would excavate some ground, re-level some stuff, dig some nice trenches out, and then I'd probably start asking the neighbours, can I go and use this thing in their garden, and just go and, you know, wreak havoc in my neighbourhood. Anyway, it's a fantastic little machine. That's the 1CXT. Next up is this thing. This is what they call a site dumper. This is a 6T-2, interesting name. So it's got 4 wheels. Its body actually articulates in the centre there, as you can see. If I just jump in, so you can see the way it operates. You've probably experienced this before, particularly with some fueling vehicles that Cat make. But what's interesting about this thing is the actual tipper bucket. I mean, obviously, you're meant to put the stuff in, but you think about it, between that machine there on the left, the 1CXT, and this 6T, you can get a lot of work done. You can basically move the ground into this thing, drive it away, and then you could pull up, you know, against a skip or something, turn it to the side. It won't let me unload at the moment. You turn it to the side and then tip it out. So you can even tip out into really strange places if you're working up against another building or some other thing that you can't actually move. But yeah, it's a site dumper, pretty useful little machine. Moving on to the next one, this is the Telehandler. This is the 540-180. So this telescopic handler is known as the high vis. I'm not sure why it's called the high vis. I think all of the vehicles come in this kind of bright yellow. I did see 1 or 2 in some bright green, I think it was in the museum, but mostly it's standardized into this yellow for visibility. But this is called the high vis, I think, because the cabin itself, if you look at the cabin, I think I remember what the guy said now in the museum. It's something to do with the way that they designed their machine. They put their arm in the center of the mass of the body, and then the driver sits off on one side. And what that means is, unlike other telehandlers, you actually get a lot better visibility when you're operating the vehicle. Hang on, if I can convince it to go camera first person like that. When you're actually operating this thing, you have a huge amount of vis, particularly when you've got a load on the end of this thing. You can see, you know, as you're driving up, exactly where you're putting this thing, and that's why it's called a high-vis telehandler. The design is subtly different to competitive products. Next thing is this. This is the JCB 457. This is a wheel loader, you know, just the usual kind of powerful, flexible wheel loader, used in all kinds of operations, anything from sort of, you know, just leveling out or scraping off some topsoil, or just moving lots of material around the construction yard. It's pretty standard in its construction, but you know, having a look at their website on this thing, the information, it offers one of the lowest, what they call the lowest 1,000-hour service operations in the business. In other words, 1,000 hours used to do this thing in terms of servicing and running costs is one of the lowest in the business. So I guess that's one of the big in-sell points for that. Right, onto the backhoe loader. I've already explained when we look down at the 1CXT. This is the big brother, and this is the one that I will drive in the video. Although this is a 4CX, I think I drove a 4CX Pro, if I remember. The Pro, the Pro has like heated seats, you know, like all the mod cons. There was no cappuccino maker in there, but it was a pretty nice machine to drive. If we have a quick look at the inside of the cabin, you'll see when you watch the video that the cabin really is like this. In fact, the instructor was with me, Georgina I think her name was. She sat there on that little seat and really helped me out, gave me some tips on how to actually operate this thing. Again, it has 2 modes of operation. If you basically change mode, you will drop the front down and tip around and look out the back. On the day in the quarry, it was raining sideways at one point, and we actually had this whole glass window opened up. You can't do this in the sim, but this window just opens up and allows you to just operate the whole thing. And what you'll see me do is basically moving some stuff off to the side here, just kind of excavating it away. But yeah, it's like I say about the other one, it's a very versatile machine. It's effectively a tractor with you know, an excavator arm on the back and a loader on the front, and you can just get so much done with one of these. They're really, really popular, but not so much in the US. I don't think they have them in the US. The issue is that they need to get operators trained on them. You know, a lot of operators, they said to me that a lot of the sites they do work on, they'll find the companies who are doing it are using 3 or 4 machines, because their operators, you know, they'll have one trained on an excavator, one trained on a wheel loader, etc. When actually they could have just done it with, you know, one of these and a dumper, but they just couldn't find an operator to operate the backhoe loader, and that's something they're looking at doing, is offering training on that thing. And then we have the big daddy, which is this thing here, the 4CX, sorry, the 220X, I'm getting my numbers mixed up. The 220X is this thing, a tracked excavator. So operational weight is about 21 tons on this. It's an absolute beast of a machine. And I got to drive one in the quarry and operate one. It's one of those bucket list things for me, excuse the pun, but it's a bucket list item. I've always wanted to operate a machine this big. And JCB, I have to say, you'll see it in the video, they are a fantastic company. They really did make us feel welcome. They took me around the quarry. We got to play with these machines here. They asked me to sort of excavate a trench out and then fill it back again, and they wanted me to flatten it down and all the rest of it. Like, it got beyond my skill level, shall we say, in an excavator. Some of the guys that you see operating these things, they're very skilled. Like, and when I say very skilled, I mean they're basically, you know, they had a trench dug out and there was a lot of stuff by the side, and they were, whilst you know, moving backwards on the machine, they were dragging stuff into the trench. Obviously it's a bit more tricky using a controller to do it, but in the real machine they're actually, if you can see them or not, I don't know, let's have a look. Yeah, just see where your feet are there. There are foot pedals, and that operates the track. So you can, you know, you can be moving backwards with your feet pressed backwards like this at the same time as you're kind of operating the arm and pulling sort of soil and stuff into a trench while moving backwards. It's a bit harder to do in the sim because you can't control the speed of your tracking very well. But it does take an awful lot of hand-eye coordination to even do it. Anyway, those are the 6 machines that are in the JCB DLC pack. You can just buy it on its own, but you can also have a look in the video description. You can buy the year 1 season pass, which includes these things plus the upcoming map and an upcoming campaign and some other bits and pieces. 20% off with my partner Games Planet. Watch out for the video coming later this week, where you'll see me, like I say, drive these things for real in a quarry. I'm editing that down right now. Exciting video, so cool, some great footage. Don't miss it. But I just wanted to make a quick video on this in case you hadn't seen it, and also to let you know about that upcoming video. That's it from me, guys. I hope you're enjoying Construction Simulator. Do give the backhoe loader a go. It is a fantastic bit of kit. Don't just stick with the excavator. Give that backhoe a go and have fun with it all. And I shall see you on the next video. Take care, guys. Happy constructing.